Good day, guys. So can you see my screen? Oh, can you hear me?
Yep, we can see your screen and I can hear you perfectly.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. So, hi, good day, guys. So my name is Fudong Li. I'm a senior lecturer in cybersecurity at University of Portsmouth. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about front of fall investigation into recipient identification of SMS-based phishing. So as you can see, I'm the second author. The first author, Max Clasen, he was one of my final year project students. So, and then due to work commitment, he asked me to present this work on his behalf. And also my colleague, David Williams, helped us in writing the paper as well. So I got some credit for him. Without further ado, I'm going to cover the content. So in the content, I'm going to briefly talk about the background of the project, and then we're going to show some of the literature review to find out what kind of techniques used by attacker in tricking users by clicking the phishing links. And then I will talk about the methodology that we used for this project and share some of the key results with you. So in terms of the background, the topic is phishing. Phishing is a well-researched topic. The first time I came into this topic was back in 2007. I came across a paper written by Professor Stephen Fudong, and one of his AMRES students is talking about identifying phishing emails. So that was the first time I came across a topic. So as you can see, the phishing topic is quite old topic. It's like what 15 years ago. Nonetheless, the reason we still want to do this because the platform has changed a little bit. Traditionally, it's only phishing for emails, but nowadays, phishing can be delivered through different platforms such as mobile devices. As you can see, 88% of people in the UK own at least one smartphone back in 2019. And this is a significant increasement in comparison with the number in back in 2012. And by using the mobile platform, they can distribute different type of phishing, such as SMS messaging phishing, phishing through social media, phishing through email, and also have got voice phishing as well. I'm sure some of you have heard about it or experienced saying that you got a voice message saying you have got a parcel from your mail, call them the number back, and then you'll be surprised. So phishing nowadays can be delivered by a mobile platform as well, as I mentioned just now. According to the Wonderous Mobile Threat Landscape Report, so over half of the surveyed organizations have experienced at least one mobile phishing incident in 2019. And alarmingly, from the report by proof points, state of the phish, so 81% of surveyed US organizations had faced smishing attacks, basically that's text message phishing attack. As we know that the consequence of a successful phishing campaign can be severe. So according to the Virgin's 2020 data breach investigation report, 22% of data breaches in 2020 involved phishing. Okay, so the consequence of data breach is more severe than before because of the GDPR. A lot of companies, they face huge amount of financial penalties because of data breach or data leakage. And also, phishing is behind 78% of cyber related incidents in 2019. As we know, once the attacker got the user's login credentials, they can like get into the system, they then get into the network. So the consequence of a phishing attack can be severe. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of work has been done in terms of users' understanding of phishing email. That was back in 2008, 2007. And nowadays, people still like putting research into the phishing domain, but people use AI, artificial intelligence techniques to detect phishing email, phishing links, and then we have got a successful rate as well. So like almost 98% of accuracy, and it was carried out on a large data set. But nonetheless, okay, any system, I mean, it is only strong as it is the weakest point. And unfortunately, in terms of cybersecurity, we know that user is the weakest point. And you can see from my last point here, 97% of the people around the world cannot identify a sophisticated phishing email that was back in 17, okay, back in 2017. So according to this kind of information, we set up our project. So the aim of the project is to investigate the accuracy with which individuals can differentiate between phishing and legitimate text messages. So this is quite a standard study. But on top of that, we ask the opinions, the techniques the participants they used in differentiating between phishing and legitimate text messages. So this is a kind of a unique point in our paper. So most of paper, they ask user opinion saying they can detect whether phishing email messages, but in our research, on top of that, we asked what kind of method they used in identifying either phishing text message or legitimate messages. In terms of phishing attacks and phishing techniques and tactics, there's a number of things attacker can use. The first one is try to deceive users. So they could use a number of methods such as spoofing URLs. So attackers can use URL shortening services. So in this way, when a user receives a text message, they don't see the real link behind the shortened URL. So in this way, the chance of them clicking on one is higher. Also, in this way, because the URL is shortened, they are not on a blacklist. So in that way, they will bypass a firewall more easily. The second point attacker try to use is try to gain trust from the user. Okay, so if the user sees that a message is from Professor Stephen Fudong and from Professor Nathan Clark, it's highly likely they're going to click on the text message. So basically, the trust is quite important. And so basically, attackers they can use by making their messages similar to the legitimate ones by spoofing the user, the sender's ID, and by using some standard security mechanisms, such as by using HTTPS. We all know that for HTTP is not secure. If we see a link with HTTPS, the chance of we click on the link is much higher. The last point is a sense of urgency. So basically, a sense of urgency will reduce the recipient's ability making rational decision by acting quickly. If we give the users a short period of time to make a decision, the chance of them making a mistake is higher. And there are two categories. One is fear-based, the other one is reward-based. For the fear-based, as mentioned by David in his keynote presentation, message supposed to be from NHS saying you have to pay certain amount of penalty by certain time. If you don't pay it, then the amount of penalty will be increased. So this is a fear-based. In terms of reward-based, is that you got a message saying that congratulations, you won a certain amount of money, claim your reward, otherwise you will lose this opportunity. Sorry. Yeah, both of these methods has been used by attackers quite a lot. We have got a number of factors as well. When we come to do this kind of study, we need to worry about the age of the participant, the gender. As you can see, excuse me, For the age, it is a factor in how susceptible one is to phishing. And then a number of studies suggest that the older a person is, the less frequently they fall for phishing. This is kind of true because the older we are, the more experience we have. And then in that way, hopefully we can identify the phishing messages or emails more easily. In terms of gender, so ETL 2010 suggests that females are more prone to phishing than males because they click on, excuse me, click on the links more often. If they click the link more often, that means the chance of them click on a phishing link is higher. However, for this gender issue is not conclusive. So for other studies, they found that there's no significant difference between men and women. Sorry. There are two other factors as well. The confidence or expertise of the user. So if they are confident, they can detect the phishing message more easily. This is reflected from our result as well. And also, people are trained in detecting finding a phishing email or message. There are two methods. One is mindfulness, the other one is rule-based. And study found that people who trained by using mindfulness technique, they are more successful than those who receive rule-based training. Basically, for the mindfulness they use, they teach the user's ability in detecting phishing emails. But for the rule-based, they just remember rules, which not dynamic. In terms of study awareness, so a study carried out by Harrison, they suggest that if participants they are aware of they are being studied, they will spend more time on identifying a message. So the more time they spend on a message, hopefully they will make a better decision. And this is reflected from our result as well, which I'm going to point out later on. In terms of the project methodology, we use a questionnaire. This is a standard method. And then in our questionnaire, we have got some generic categories, such as we're asking the participants' age, their gender, their confidence level in detecting phishing email. And on top of that, we got 20 text messages, and 10 of them are phishing messages. The other 10, they are like genuine messages. For each of the phishing message, we provide three options, whether it is phishing, whether it's not, or they have no idea whether it's legitimate or not. And on top of this, we provide a text box for each text message saying what kind of method you use in detecting whether it's a phishing message or whether it's or not. We found this is quite useful. So this is our methodology. And in terms of getting the phishing messages, we use a couple methods. The first one we use, we had 5 managed mobile phones. We put these numbers on some popular website, hoping the numbers will be exposed and then get some text phishing messages. And in the end, after 2 months, we got 6. This far below what we envisaged. And so we have to gather some other phishing messages from like a social media network. Nonetheless, for all the legitimate messages, they were all gathered from these 5 managed phones. When choosing a phishing message, we consider a number of factors as well, such as whether it's a suspicious request, whether it has got any urgency cues or not, Leakage cues were considered as well, so such as whether there's any spelling mistake or whether there's any grammar mistake. So this is quite interesting as well. And also for the inauthenticate URL, so if the URL contains, let's say, HTTPS or not. So all of these factors were considered when we're selecting a phishing text message. And also for those messages, they can be found in the appendix of our paper. So there's got two examples of phishing messages. One is from giffgaff. It's a telecom service provider within the UK, and the other one is from Argos. I would like to ask some of the audience, how come these two messages are phishing messages? Any suggestion?
I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
So they've all got, well, they both have shortened URLs.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, that's very fishy for both of them. I'll give that, and someone else can take the rest.
Oh, thank you. I noticed that some people put in the chat for question as well. Maybe we can elaborate on that after the presentation during the Q&A. So thank you for the answer. One of the things with the first one is the giffgaff. So it's a wrong spelling. It's I think it's double F rather than triple F. The second one is it was gathered from one of our phones. We never register with Argos. We don't use the Argos service. So obviously, when we see this kind of message, it is an indication that it's a phishing. Well, it's either sent by mistake or it's a phishing text message. Another thing we mentioned, we noticed when gathering this data, because we had got Android phones, and then some of the message was targeted to the iPhone users. So this could be a sign of phishing messages. Okay. Thank you for your help. So in terms of the data collection, how do we gather users' opinion on whether they can identify phishing text message or not? We use a Google form. Within the Google form, it is quite easy to set up. It contains the categories I mentioned: age, gender, their experience level, and also those 20 text messages. And the questionnaire was distributed by using a post on a popular social media network website, reddit.com. To our surprise, we posted it on the social media network, and then we received like over 500 responses after a week's time. Then back then, Max talked to me. We already got 500, more than 500 after a week. So, and there was a lot of data for him to process. So in the end, we say, okay, we close the questionnaire after a week. Also, the questionnaire was sent to all the students within our department as well. So amongst those 576 participants, half of them were males, 45 were females, and the rest, they were classified as others. Okay, majority of the participants were kind of young people, because they were classified as like between 18 to 30. We have got some results as well, although these results can be found in our paper. So firstly, we got two categories. One is phishing messages, the other one is genuine. As you can see, the correct responses for phishing messages, the accuracy is much higher. It's got almost 88%. So people, they are quite good at identifying phishing messages. And some people saying they don't really know whether it's a phishing text message or they have done it incorrectly. So it's only 6% each. And in comparison, people's ability identifying genuine messages is much lower. So it's only 59% got the correct response. And a lot of people are quite honest as well, saying, I don't really know whether it's genuine or not. So I put select, I didn't know what to do. But for the genuine messages, 23% of the participants, they made a wrong choice. Maybe they over thought about it, but for whatever reason, as you can see, the participants, they understand, they've been studied, they has a better detection rate in phishing messages than the genuine ones. So this is quite interesting like factor. Within this table, we have got the key result of in terms of the correction rate, incorrect rate, or I don't know rate for all the messages. So we have got the top of the table is the messages for phishing. The bottom of the table is the genuine messages. And there's a number of messages I would like to go through with you because I found the result is quite interesting. Firstly, as you can see, for message 1, I think is 14 and 17, the correct rate is quite high. The reason for this one, when we analyze these, the response, the comments from our participants, it says, okay, it's got a certain URL. So that's it's one of the main reasons they think they thought that those messages, they were like phishing messages. And then for the other messages, so message 1, 10, and also 17, basically, again, we analyze the comments and then we can see that participants saying they can see this one. In those messages, there's a suspicious request. So they request something and then they request suspicious, and then users can easily pick this up. In contrast, message 14 had only has one of the lowest rates for this, so there's no suspicious request, but there's got some urgency queue. Basically, it's a reward to the user, and then this is picked up by the user quite a lot. So almost 30% of by adding these two numbers together, so almost 30% of the respondents, they identify this one. You know, the reward was too good to be true, or it was a clear attempt to entice the user by a reward. Another one is this message 14. Okay, so it got quite good performance as well. 96% of the correct responding rate. It's because it got sorry, I made a mistake. Is message number 10 rather than message number 14. So basically using the urgency queues in message 10, and also they pointing out in message number 10 is got a spelling and the grammar mistakes. And this is one of the reasons why message number 10, a phishing message, has got the best response rate, 98%. Okay, so if something is spelling mistake or grammarly is not accurate, people can pick this up quite easily. And we have got an interesting message for message 13 as well. So for other messages, I have got URL, whether it's a normal URL or whether it's shortened. But for message 13, we don't have one, okay? But because we don't have a URL, that means some of the participants thought it was a genuine one. However, we have got 31% of the participants successfully recognized that the message was an attempt to obtain a verification code. And also, we have found a comment is quite interesting from one of the participants. They say, this requires you to be a little savvy. When you get a verification code, you should never share it with anyone. Okay, so this is quite an interesting comment from the participant. So we have got some other results on age, on gender, on the confidence level as well. For the age and gender, we don't have I don't have a lot of significant like a result. But for the confidence level, we see that we asked them to rate their participants' confidence level from 1 to 5. 1 is the highest. 5 is the highest. 1 is the lowest in identifying a phishing message. As you can see, for the people who read them high or higher, they get a better correction rate. But this is not true for the last two categories, 1 and 2, because for those two categories, we had quite less people in comparison with other groups. I think this is all the result I want to present in this presentation. Okay, so we have got some reflections in our project as well. So as I mentioned, we have got 5 managed mobile phones. So we put them, we got them exposed on different websites, but it's for 2 months of time. We only got 6 text messages. I think if we leave them a little bit longer, and then maybe we can get more phishing text messages. And another thing is we realize that although we got the telephone number, occasionally we check it, but if we don't use it for real business, then the chance of us for getting a malicious text message is lower than a legitimate telephone number. The second point, we see that by using social media platform, it does improve the participants numbers. Okay, so normally we just distributed the surveys within our own social media own network within the school, but these students, they put this one out in the world, and within a week we got more than 500 response. So I encourage colleagues within this room to use this method as well. But think about this one. We should put some quality control measures in place as well to make sure that people answer the questions honestly. In terms of the analysis of the result, we use some basic statistical method, but we never use any more advanced method such as chi-square method to detect any correlation or not. This will be considered for the research. And also, one of the challenges we had was the amount of comments we get from the participants. It was huge. We only extracted a small amount of the comments. Obviously, if we did go through all of the comments, it would take us a lot of time. So in the future, we may go through this and to see if there's any valuable point to be extracted. And another thing we actually noticed in terms of the comments, because our messages, they were fixed, their prediction was fixed, and then at the beginning for the messages for the message which were placed higher on top of the questionnaire, they received more comments. For the messages towards the end, receive little comments. So next time, or maybe other colleagues who want to do this kind of study, they may want to randomize the messages. So in this way, the amount of comments received per message could be even. In our case, it's not even, but we could use some additional measure to get a better view from the user. That's it. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.